You're watching KSG News, where you get all the latest updates from across the globe to help with your exam preparations. We begin with GS Paper 3. The center has used the ordinance route to introduce pre-packaged insolvency resolution process (PREPAC) for companies classified as micro, small and medium enterprises or the MSMEs. India currently has about 6 to 7 lakh companies that are classified as MSMEs, and potentially these many could benefit from the newly introduced pre-packaged insolvency framework. Now, what is this all about? A pre-packaged insolvency in the Indian framework context is an arrangement where the resolution of a company's business is negotiated with a buyer before the appointment of an insolvency professional. It is a blend of informal and formal mechanisms, with the informal process stretching up to NCLT admission, followed by the existing NCLT supervised process for resolution as specified under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Pre-packs are seen to be a viable alternative to the current corporate insolvency process and would be significantly less time-consuming and inexpensive as against the formal insolvency proceedings. The government has deemed it fit to first introduce pre-packs for MSMEs, as they are critical for India's economy and they contribute significantly for the country's gross domestic product, besides providing employment to a sizable population. MSMEs in India have relatively suffered most during the current pandemic times, also with threshold of debt default at 1 crore rupees now under the IBC. Most of the MSMEs are out of this range. The center is expected to, in coming days, notify the debt default threshold for MSMEs for which pre-packaged insolvency resolution process could be used. The ordinance specifies a maximum time period for 120 days from the pre-packaged insolvency commencement date by when the pre-pack process should be completed. Shifting focus to GS Paper 2, taking a major leap towards the completion of the 111-kilometer long winding stretch from Katra to Banihal on the 5th of April, the Northern Railway Zone has completed the arch closure of the world's highest railway bridge, Chenab Bridge in Jammu and Kashmir. The iconic Chenab Bridge is a part of the Udhampur-Srinagar-Baramulla rail link project, and the completion of the steel arch was one of the most difficult parts of the bridge over Chenab. Talking about the salient features of the Chenab Bridge, the iconic arch bridge on River Chenab is being constructed by Indian Railways as a part of the USBRL project to link the Kashmir Valley to the rest of India. The iconic bridge is 1,315 meters long and is the world's highest railway bridge, being 359 meters above the riverbed level. The arch of the Chenab Bridge will be 35 meters higher than the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Bridge construction involved the fabrication of 28,660 million ton steel, 10 lakh cum earthwork, 66,000 cum concrete, as well as 26 kilometers motorable roads. The arch comprises steel boxes. In order to improve stability, concrete will be filled in boxes of the arch. The overall weight of the arch is 10,619 million tons. For the first time, erection of the members of the arch by overhead cable cranes was done on the Indian Railways network. For structural detailing, the most sophisticated Tekla software was used. Structural steel is suitable for temperature from minus 10 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius. Moving on to GS Paper 3, the Defense Research and Development Organization, or the DRDO, has developed 3 variants of a chaff rocket for the protection of naval ships from guided missile attacks. Chaff rocket is primarily a mechanism that, when fired, acts as a decoy to deflect the guiding mechanism of enemy missiles. The Ministry of Defense on the 5th of April said the DRDO's facility, Defense Laboratory Jodhpur, has indigenously developed 3 variants of this critical technology. The names of this critical technology are short-range shaft rocket, medium-range shaft rocket, and long-range shaft rocket, meeting the Navy's qualitative requirements. The Navy recently conducted trials of all 3 variants from a warship deployed in Arabian Sea and found the performance satisfactory. Chaff is an electronic countermeasure technology used by militaries worldwide to protect naval ships or other sensitive targets from radar and radio frequency guiding mechanisms of the enemy missile. The chaff rockets deployed in the air reflect as multiple targets for the missile guidance systems and deflecting adversary missiles, thus protecting their own assets. The DRDO has gained expertise to meet futuristic threats from adversaries. The technology is being given to the industry for production in large quantities. Moving on to GS Paper 2, the trilateral trade between India, Israel, and the UAE can propel to a high of $110 billion by 2030 by tapping into their mutual strengths, top diplomats and members of the business community have said. The comments were made at an event organized by the International Federation of Indo-Israel Chambers of Commerce on the 4th of April to discuss the ongoing business collaborations being pursued through IFIICC's leadership across sectors. Now, what is this all about and what is the significance of this? The international business potential backed by Israeli innovation, UAE's visionary leadership and strategic partnership of both nations with India could be $110 billion by 2030. This, according to a press release issued by the IFIICC. The UAE is a gateway to the world, and this trilateral with India and Israel could benefit the world. The Indian business community in the UAE could significantly leverage the strengths of this trilateral to boost economic growth of all nations. IFIIC was launched on the 14th of December last year and is looking to set up offices globally, drawing the support of the Indian diaspora, the largest in the world. The European Business School, in a seminar organized recently, also highlighted the global potential of trilateral ties between Israel, the UAE, and India. The seminar held last month was organized in cooperation with SPJIMR. Established in 1819, the ESCP Business School is considered to be the world's first business school. In some more updates related to GS Paper 3, India has been focusing on renewable energy in a big way as part of its commitment to move towards cleaner fuel to address climate change concerns, but coal will continue to be an integral part of the country's energy requirements for its developmental needs, India told the UN climate body in its biennial report on greenhouse gas inventory. The report, submitted recently to the UNFCCC, however, underlined that the country would use coal responsibly through clean coal initiatives and said its per capita coal consumption was still lower than most developed countries and other emerging economies. Now, what is the significance of this? The remarks on coal use in the report, carrying details of India's climate action, assume significance as there is considerable pressure on India to raise its mitigation or the emission reduction goal by pledging either net zero, that is, emission minus removal amounts to zero target, or peaking year of its emission ahead of the 26th session of the UN Climate Conference in November. Though it is not yet clear whether India will actually deviate from its stated position of not announcing its next climate action target before 2023, when a global stocktake or collective targets of all countries happens, its report to the UN body drops enough hints that it won't fall in line, keeping in view its national circumstances. The report also shows what it thinks about the role of big historical polluters such as the US, the European Union nations, and the UK, among the others. Unlike those countries who are proactive in planning phase out of coal only to replace them by oil and gas, India is transparent in its need for coal, India's third biennial report to the UNFCCC said. Referring to the necessity of the country's dependence on coal, it said, and I quote, "This is in keeping with India's claim to a fair share of the global carbon budget and India's significant underutilization of this share thus far," unquote. But this does not mean any deviation from what India pledged as part of its climate action under the Paris Agreement, as against its target of 40% electric power installed capacity from non-fossil fuel-based sources by 2030. The share of non-fossil fuel-based electricity generation has already reached over 38% in November 2020. In 2015 to 2016, India had set a target of achieving 175 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity by 2022, which was later enhanced to 450 gigawatts by 2030. It means nearly 5 times increase in next 10 years from 92.97 gigawatts in February this year. Record shows that the power generation capacity share of renewables in India grew from 4.9% as of March 2006 to 23.92% by September last year. That's it in this edition of KSG News. Stay tuned for more such updates.